Okay, so now for page 2, so turn your page, go to section 2. These questions are each worth 10 points apiece. Okay, so these are, because they're a little bit harder, I want to give you more credit if you are able to complete them all the way through. Okay, so remember in class I told you that this is not a negative 5, this is a positive 5. That's just a line that's going all the way through the graph. Okay, so our y-axis is the vertical axis, so I'm going to put a y up here to remind myself that this whole line right here is the line that goes up and down is my y-axis, and my line that goes from left to right is my x-axis. So this whole line over here, watch how my pen is drawing, is the x-axis. Okay? So in order to find my rate of change and initial value so that I can write my equation, I need to do a couple of things. Okay? I first need to find my initial value. Okay? So the first thing I can look at is, remember, the initial value. Another word for initial value is the y-intercept. Okay, and remember the y-intercept means where the graph, like the line, crosses the y-axis. Okay, so I'm going to look and see where my red line crosses the y-axis, and it's exactly at this point right here, and that point is 6. So that means my initial value is equal to 6, and I'm going to construct my equation in just a second once I have all of my pieces. Okay, then the next part of my equation is my rate of change. I'm going to do my rate of change in red so that we don't get confused with the writing. Remember, my rate of change is the change or the difference in y values divided by the change in x values. So in order to find the change, I need to have 2 points. So I have my first point, which is 0, or 6, 0. Nope, 0, 6, sorry. 0, 6. And then I need to find another point. Okay? Remember I told you I only want points that are on the corner of a square. On the corner of a square, the only other point that I can see in the graph is this point right here. And that point right there is 1, 2. Okay? So I'm going to find my change in y values. My y values are going to be purple. Okay? And my x values are going to be underlined in orange. Okay, so my y values, my change would be 6 minus 2 divided by my orange values. 6 has a y value, or excuse me, an x value of 0, and 2 has an x value of 1. So you need to make sure that these points right here, these points line up. Okay, these are my x and y values that go with the ordered pair together, and these are my x and y values that go in an ordered pair together also. Okay, so 6 minus 2 is 4. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. 4 divided by negative 1 is negative 4. So that means my rate of change is negative 4. So now, when I write my equation, let's do our equation in black. Okay, our equation is going to be y equals negative 4x, because our rate of change always gets multiplied by our x, plus 6. Our initial value always gets added on to the end of the equation. Now, if you would rather write it like this, y equals 6 minus 4x, both of these equations are exactly the same thing. They have the same information. The signs are the same on each of the numbers, so it doesn't matter to me. You'll get full credit for both answers. Okay? So either one of these answers is perfectly good. Make sure on the test that you show all your work. Don't just come up with an answer. Okay? Even if you're able to do the work in your head, I want you to show me what you're thinking and how you're getting to each of the answers. Okay? Also, remember we talked about in class that this line right here, our red line, is decreasing. Okay? It's going from left to right. It's decreasing, and that matches our rate of change because our rate of change is negative. Okay, so we can double check that and say, okay, I know I did it right because my line is decreasing and I have a negative slope. All right, the next one I'm going to work on page 2 is letter C. Please write the equation for the following table. So we're going to need the same information. We're going to need the initial value and the rate of change for this table. Okay, remember on the table, we look at this is where you answer in your head, just like on a TV show when you're a little kid. Yep. It is when x is equal to 0, that is my initial value. So my initial value is negative 14. So I'm going to write this at the top. I think I did blue for initial value on the last slide, so try and stay consistent. Initial value is negative 14. Okay, so that's already done. So now I just need to find my rate of change. Remember, my rate of change is from any 2 points in the table, how much is it increasing or decreasing by? Okay, so I'm going to say, I'm going to pick these 2 points. You can pick whichever 2 points you want, remember, because inside a linear table, the rate of change will be the same between any 2 points. So my rate of change is going to be, again, I write this every single day so that you remember, hopefully, the change in y values divided by the change in x values. Okay? So my change in y values from negative 4 to positive 6. To get from negative 4, I'm going to need to add 4 to get to 0. So that's already 4 more. Plus 6 more to get up to 6. From 0 to 6. Remember on a number line, I draw my number line over here. Here's 0. At negative 4, I need to add 4 to get to 0. Plus 6 more to get to 6. So 4 plus 6 is 10. To get from negative 4 to positive 6, I have to add 10. And then to get from 1 to 2, I need to add 1. So my change in y values is positive 10. And my change in x values is positive 1. 10 divided by 1 is 10. So my rate of change is 10 for this equation. So I'm going to smush it all together to get my equation. I'm going to do my equation in black again. So y is equal to 10x minus 14. Okay, here's my initial value, negative 14. Here's my rate of change, positive 10. The rate of change gets multiplied by the x, and my initial value gets tacked on to the end. Okay, again, if you want to write your initial value first, do negative 14 plus 10x, be my guest. Either one of those is perfectly correct, so they have the same information, and they have the same values. All right, last one I'm going to write about or explain, talk through, is letter D, write an equation in words. Okay, there's several ways you can do this. You can write a story. You can just use input and output. You can do a word problem. However you want to describe it, whatever makes sense to your brain, that's what I want you to do here. Okay, but you need to make sure that if you write a story, that your story makes sense. So if you were to just use input and output, remember y is equal to output. Okay, that's what you're getting out of the problem when you put in your input, your x values. Okay, so I'm going to say output is equal to, and yes, I want you to write it all out. I will take points off if I see any symbols because symbols go in equation, words go into a verbal description. So output is equal to 7 times the input plus 8. Okay, every single thing needs to be in words, not in symbols. I don't want you to write output is equal to 7x plus 8. Nope, I don't want to see any of that. Okay, I'm going to put a big red X through that. I don't want to see that, and I don't want to see that. I want words. Okay, if you were to write a story, you could say Lily starts at starts 8 miles from her house, and every minute she walks 7 more feet away from her house. Or she starts, I don't know, 8 miles from the store and drives 7 miles per hour away from the store. So she's increasing her distance. Either way, I don't care. You can write a football play, you can write about basketball, you can write about anime, you can write about whatever you want as long as it matches this equation.